Your boundaries will bring out the best in some people and the absolute worst in others. Even so, don't be afraid to stand by your boundaries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you find value here. Let's get this channel to 100,000 subscribers. I know with your support, we can reach that goal. So, oftentimes, what happens when you set a boundary with a person who's used to getting their way with you, who's used to being able to manipulate you, who's used to acting entitled with you and you giving into their entitlement, and you begin to not only set boundaries, but hold the line with your boundaries. You do not waver once you really cement it in your boundaries. Some people are going to have a really difficult time adjusting to that, and you're going to see their anger. So, yes, boundaries do bring out the best in some people. Let's start with that, and then we'll talk about how it brings out the absolute worst. So, sometimes it brings out the best in people because you now are very clear about where the two of you stand, right? You have clear expectations. So, when you're dealing with an individual who is emotionally mature, self aware, who has boundaries themselves, and they are respectful of other people's boundaries, and they live by the thinking of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, then more often than not, your boundaries will improve the relationship, will bring out the best in that relationship because you're both operating from a place of respect, consideration for each other, and clarity. But for others, it will bring out the worst. And here's why. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons, but let me give you the overarching reason, and I'll give you a couple of reasons. And so, the overarching reason why boundaries will bring out the worst in some people, particularly those who are selfish, entitled, manipulative, controlling, and narcissistic, is that it challenges their expectation of being able to freely access your time, your energy, and your resources without any consideration of your needs and how bleeding you dry in terms of your time, energy, and resources, the effect that it has on you, on your physical health, your mental health, your emotional well being. So, when you're dealing with an individual who is self absorbed, right, and who's accustomed to getting their way without any limits being set, they're going to be upset that they can't have their way. And there are a few reasons why this happens. Number one, they feel entitled. And so, if this has been the dynamic between you and a particular so called friend or family member, where you are the go to person for someone you can never go to, where they are used to just doing whatever they want to do without there being any limit set, and they feel entitled to your time, your attention, then they're going to become frustrated when you say no because you're taking something away that they have been used to accessing freely. So here's an example. If you have someone who is used to keeping you on the phone for hours at end about their relationship saga and drama, and you have to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, you get up early to go to work, and you need to be alert for your job, right? You really need to be very focused, very alert. Maybe you're a truck driver, you're on the road, so you got to be alert. You need to be well rested, whatever the job is. I'm just using that example, insert your own. And they're calling you at 10, 11 at night, 9 at night, keeping you on the phone for hours, just talking about themselves. You can never get a word in edgewise. And when you do get a word in, they automatically shift the conversation back to themselves. Never once ask how you're going. And this be the person that's like, hey, I called to see how you're doing. But that's just a transitional phrase to be able to just talk about themselves because they never ask you how you're doing. Hey, I called to see how you're doing. Well, let me da 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 da. You're like, I thought you called to see how I'm doing. Oh, I called to see how you're doing. Girl, you're not going to believe what happened. So they called to see how you're doing, right? in one breath, and then they continue the sentence with, you're not going to believe what happened. And this is like an ongoing thing, right? So friendships are give and take. And there will be seasons in a friendship where you may take a little more than you give. There might be seasons that happens, right? So it could be a situation where you lost your job and you are going through a rough patch. You're in a season where you may need to lean on your friend a little more. But then what should happen, if this is a healthy friendship, is that when they find themselves where they need to lean on you, right? So this can be, maybe they had a death in their family, or maybe they're going through a tough time in their relationship. It should be a give and give, give and give. So there might be seasons where you're leaning on them a little bit more, and then there are seasons where they're leaning on you a little bit more. That happens, but it shouldn't feel one-sided where you're doing all the leaning but none of the giving, because then that is too much for anybody. That is a drain. So if you have a friend who feels entitled to all of your time, to keeping you on the phone for hours just to talk about themselves, right? And there's never any concern for you for the fact you got to get up early, then when you take that away by putting boundaries on your time and saying, listen, I got to limit the time that we're on the phone. Now, you may word it differently, but the gist is, I got to limit the time we're on the phone. I got to get up early in the morning. And so, I'm not going to be on the phone with you as long. However you say it. And they may really take it very personal. Oh, you're not a good friend. And you have been a very good friend. You have been more than understanding. They're not a good friend. They know you got to get up at 4 a.m. They have no consideration for you. And so sometimes you have to really listen to what people are saying without saying anything. This is why silence is so powerful, because silence gives you the personal distance and the emotional space to really consider what someone is saying without thinking about your next point and without having to have a comeback. Most people can't do this. They have to have a comeback. But when you are able to just take in what a person's saying, it allows you to prayerfully consider where they're coming from. So when a person who you have been very giving to with your time, now all of a sudden, because you're setting boundaries around your time because you're sleepy, and when it's time for you to get up for work, you don't feel well rested and you have to drive long on the road, or maybe you're a nurse, whatever your job is, you're a teacher and you're not enthusiastic with your kindergarten students, whatever it is that you do for a living. And you give some context because this is a friend, so you're not just cut and dry, or a so-called friend, and they have no understanding, it means that they don't care. They believe that their need to freely access all of your time supersedes your need for rest, to be able to get up for work and be able to do your job well. So you're seeing their value system, and your values are not congruent. So what'll happen is, it can bring out the worst, because they'll start to talk about you behind your back. If this person doesn't have good character, they will call you selfish because you've set a boundary, forgetting all the other months that you've been listening to them with and it's the same relationship saga. You're like, we done talked about this relationship to death. At some point, you need to unpack with a therapist, because your friends do not have the training and the emotional resources to continuously provide ongoing emotional support with no limits. So it may mean that this person needs professional help to be able to have a place to unpack this relationship. So, number one, they feel entitled. Number two, they are not accustomed to people setting limits with them. So this connects with being entitled. So when you're dealing with an individual who's not accustomed to people setting limits with them, they're used to having their way, highly manipulative personalities, then when you are the one to finally set limits, you are going to be perceived as the bad guy. Be okay with that. Be okay with being the villain in a manipulative person's story. Be okay with that. That takes the power away. So if you want to say that I'm a bad friend, after all the months that I have listened to your relationship drama and I'm burnt out, then I guess according to your definition, I'm a bad friend. So that means you shouldn't want to call me anymore. People will be very bothered when you agree with them. When you start agreeing with what people say, And I'm not talking about walking in agreement. Agreement in terms of, if that's how you see the situation, I agree to not fight with you about it. That's the agreement I'm talking about. I agree to not fight with you about it. So if you think I'm selfish, then I agree that that's what you think. I don't think that, but I agree that that's what you think. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to say, oh, I can't believe you said that about me. I'm not a selfish person. I'm not going through all of that. That's too much conversation. That's too much conversation catering to your selfishness. So when an individual is entitled and they're calling you selfish because you've put the brakes on, freely allowing them to access all of your time, energy, and your resources, I'm not having multiple conversations. You're not even getting one conversation. So if you are mad that the boundary is there, then hopefully you will get over your anger. And if you don't, then I wish you all the best in life. But what I'm not going to do is chase you, beg you, jump through hoops, and kiss your behind. That's not happening. So when you have that attitude, people are not going to like that. People are not going to like that. Manipulative people become very angry when they can't manipulate you. So you have to expect this. So it will bring out the worst in some people. Some people may lie and be like, I was such a good friend and I can't believe. So let's make this money. So the first one was your time, right? The person that keeps you on the phone for hours. Now this one is money. So you have a family member that treats you like an ATM. You are both able-bodied adults. You are both grown. This is not your minor child who you are legally responsible for, or your aging parent who you have made the intentional decision to take care of them. This is a family member who is able-bodied and grown just like you. And you have loaned them money, let's say, on more than one occasion. We'll say you've loaned them money on 3 different occasions over the past year. They never pay you back. And let's say they have the entrepreneurial, they have the entrepreneurial drive. They always got a new business they're getting involved in. They hit you up for money. You help them out, but you got bills. You got bills. You're thinking like, do you think I live in the cave and I am getting my food by fishing every day? I mean, that's a beautiful thing, but I live in the city. So that's not my reality. I got rent. I got to buy groceries. You may have a mortgage. You may have car payments. If you're riding the subway or the bus, you have your car fare and any other bills. If you're putting kids through college, if you have medical costs, co-payments. So you have a life that comes with bills. That's the reality of living in this world. And for some reason, the person who's always in your pockets, the grown, able-bodied adult who is always in your pockets, just believes that you have a money tree, that you got a money tree growing in your backyard, and you can just go to the money tree and get money without suffering personally at the expense of your rent, your mortgage, your light bill, or messing with your credit. And they have absolutely no concern, no consideration for your financial well-being. And so the one time you say no, after the 3 times you said yes and they never paid you back, and you said, you know what? I'm not even going to fight them on it. I'm just going to consider it that I gave them a blessing and I know the Lord will bless me. So I'm not even going to fight with them about paying me back. But what I'm not going to do is loan them any more money because they have a history of not paying me back. We know people by their fruit. So they're showing me the fruit of financial irresponsibility, regardless of what the circumstances are. That is not my issue. This is a grown, able-bodied adult. See, once you start living in a space where you are not letting people manipulate you even a little bit, people will not like you. People will not like you. So what? So what? You don't want to be liked by somebody who is manipulative, narcissistic, and entitled anyway. Why would you want that friendship? They'll bleed you dry. It's better that you don't like me. Good. You'll never come to me for money again. I'm so glad you don't like me. Let me thank God for answering my prayers. See, when you have that attitude, people get highly upset. They get upset. People get triggered on this channel all the time by the things I say, by my unbothered attitude. And so When you begin to set a boundary with that individual, right? They're not used to you setting limits and saying the faucet is cut off. Enough. You are not my minor child. Like, I'm not legally responsible for you. I'm sorry that you're going through A, B, and C, but I have my own life. Maybe you have children. I have minor children that need my financial resources. I don't go to work to pay your bills. I don't go to work to finance what you're doing. Now, I've helped you and I've blessed you, but at this point, you're being unappreciative. At this point, you're being unappreciative. At this point, you're being greedy. And see, when you say things like that, people get very upset. And don't let this be a family and be, oh, so we family and you just showing me that I can't count on you as family. Don't even argue with them. Don't even argue. It's a manipulative ploy where you showing me that I can't count on you as family. And let's say this is a person who you've given money to multiple times in the past. Well, if that's how you see it, well, that's how I see it. Okay. The answer's okay. They get no argument. That's how I'm not even trying to change your mind. I'm not investing a pinky of my energy trying to change your mind. So if that's how you see it, and you're going to go around telling people that I'm selfish and I'm mean and I'm the worst person in the world, I can't stop you from gossiping about me behind my back. I can't control that. I can't control who believes the gossip. So if there are people that are that weak-minded that they believe the worst about me based on your lies and rumors without giving me a fair chance, then that also did me a favor, because I don't want to be friends with someone who's weak-minded, because you would fold under pressure anyway. I'd have no use for you. And see, when you begin to really get clear, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't walk in love. See, people take my stern, direct tone and no nonsense as not walking in love. See, the scriptures are very clear. If you love me, feed my sheep. And so you can walk in love, but walking in love does not mean walking without boundaries, walking without testing the spirit, and walking without discerning a person's fruit. I don't walk with love with you by the fact that you owe me money and I'm letting it go as a spiritual blessing rather than taking you to small claims court. That's a very loving thing to do, because I'm well within my rights to do that. But I'm just going to let it be a blessing and a lesson. It's a spiritual blessing, and it's a lesson that you only are concerned about you with absolutely no consideration about my financial needs. And even if you make more money, let's say you both have jobs and you make more money, you may have more expenses tied to your money. So maybe your rent is higher, your mortgage is higher, your car payments are higher. So you may have, nobody can count your money. They don't know. They don't know if you have student loans. They don't know every debt you owe. So do know that it will bring out the worst in a person who is selfish, a person who's manipulative, a person who's entitled, a person who is accustomed to getting their way without there being any limits being set. And here's another reason why your boundaries will bring out the worst in somebody also. So when you're dealing with an individual who is not self-aware and doesn't understand boundaries, right? So there are some people who don't have any boundaries. These are the people at the job that have no filter, tell all of their business to everybody they meet. Like, these co-workers are their personal friends who love them. And sometimes it's naivety, right? And this is why, even if what I say stings a little bit, if you were never taught these things, come back to the channel. Get out your feelings and take the lessons from this, because this is going to save you a lot of headaches. And so when you think about the person at the job who tells all their business or their relationship drama, and these coworkers are eating it up or talking about you behind your back, and you're giving them the ammunition. So you do have some people that just don't have healthy boundaries because they were never shown healthy boundaries. But if you don't learn nothing else from this channel, you're going to learn how to defeat life's devils, how to detect deception, how to walk in love without being a doormat. You are going to learn how to navigate the twists and turns of this life with biblical wisdom, resilience, and grace, while testing the spirit, knowing people's fruit, and reaching for your goals and dreams. And so sometimes you'll meet an individual who believes that because they're an open book and they overshare, that you are supposed to be an open book and overshare. And I remember many years ago, I was at a gathering with a couple of women, and we all knew each other through our work, right? We were all in the same industry, professional industry, and one of the women had a gathering, and it was the three of us that went, and many years ago. And as the night went on, people were talking more personal, telling their business. I was a bit reserved, I'm laughing, joking, having a good time, but I'm not putting my personal business out there. And the woman who was the host was like, I noticed that you don't share. We all sharing and you don't share. And what she meant by that is they're all telling like their personal business, going into even their past sexual life. Like they getting it in. They talking about some stuff. And I was mum's the word, in terms of my personal life, I was talking about like maybe things I like, places I traveled, restaurants, the type of food I enjoy. I kept it light but cordial, light and cordial, because you're getting to know people. And she thought that her response would make me say, oh my goodness. Well, if I don't want to not be a sharer, I share. But she didn't get that response from me, And she was like, I noticed that you really don't share. And, we're over here, we're talking and you really don't share. And whatever else she said, it was, it was a while ago, but, whatever else she said. And I said, yeah, people do say that. That was my response. People do say that was the response. People do say that. See, but that response doesn't allow someone to manipulate you. So essentially what you're saying is, I've heard that before. Yeah, people do say that. But obviously, if I'm still behaving this way, despite the fact that people do say that, what's the lesson in that? That I absolutely don't care that people say that. And I'm not changing my disposition, demeanor, or my behavior because people say that. I'm not changing. Unless God is changing me. But I'm not changing in terms of catering to something you don't like. You were free not to be around me. So I didn't say all that. I just said people do say that. And so she was a little taken aback by my comment, because you could tell that she expected me to defend myself and say, oh, no, and no, I wasn't saying all that. Yeah, people do say that. I have heard that before. And then she's looking like she's waiting for me to say more. And it was just awkward silence. And so here's the interesting thing, though. Shortly after, the woman who said that to me fell out with one of the other women who were at that get-together. And she told all her business. And this woman says some pretty personal things. She told all her business. It was so ugly. It was so ugly. And I said to myself, I'm so glad that I kept it light, talking about places I traveled and food I like. I kept it real light. I'm so glad. Because she was showing you a character flaw, that when she gets angry, she's going to resort to telling a person's business. Because you can fall out with someone and still not talk about them in a negative way. You can fall out with someone and choose not to tell their business, meaning you go your separate ways. And hey, what happened with you and we'll give them a name. What happened with you and Jan? Last time I spoke to Jan is good, or whatever you say. But you're not going to say, oh, well, Jan, her and her man, they fell out, and he gave her STD, and that's horrible if she told you that in confidence. So it's just, hopefully Jan's doing fine. And you leave it at that. Because it's none of their business. At one time, y'all were cool. And that speaks more to your integrity. It speaks to your integrity, because it's not about the other person. It's about your integrity. That I'm a trustworthy person. Regardless of how you get down, I have integrity. Clearly you don't, but I do. So do understand that there will be people who, when you set boundaries, it will absolutely help to improve the relationship, because you will both be able to engage with each other from a place of mutual expectations, clarity, and mutual respect. But there will also be other people. The people who are manipulative, narcissistic, entitled, controlling, and messy boots messy, that will take your boundaries as a personal slight and will feel that your boundaries is somehow a personal affront to them because they can't have their way. They can't gather enough information about you to flip and use it against you because you have boundaries and you're unwavering and you don't care what people think. So as you begin to get ready for the holidays, a lot of you have already set some boundaries, but because of the holidays, you're tempted to backpedal. Or because you're getting pushback from a particular family member or friend, you are tempted to steal your own peace and negate your own joy by going to places and spaces where you feel unwelcome, unloved, and where the communication is unhinged. Your life, you have a decision to make, but I want to leave you with some scriptures that I believe will help. And I always tell you to go to God. So you're always going to hear me say, go to God for yourself. You are always going to hear me say that, right? This channel is dedicated to believers. It is a Bible-based channel to make sure you're in the right space. So if you don't want Bible-based principles, exit the channel. It's not for you. And as a believer, I am always going to say, no matter what is shared in any video, not just my video, but anybody's video, you always want to go to God for yourself. Be prayerful. Go to the scriptures for yourself. And so with that being said, let me share some scriptures that really speak about boundaries. And so Matthew 5 verse 37 says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything more than these is sent from the evil one. Anything more than these is from the evil one. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. So the scriptures is letting it be clear to let your yes be yes, but also let your no be no. Like, don't waver. Be very clear. And when somebody asks you to do something and you're not sure, say, let me think about it. Let me pray about it. This way you can give a clear yes or a clear no because you can pray about it. You know, let me think about it. Let me pray about it and I'll get back to you. And then you can give them the time frame. I'll get back to you in a day, an hour, whatever that's looking like, a week. You know the specifics of the question they're asking. I don't. So you'll know what you need to say in terms of the time frame. If it's an hour, a day, a week, whatever it will be, as it relates to the specific conversation the two of you are having. So let me pray about it. That's going to help you with your yes be yes and your no be no. I'm going to give you another scripture that speaks about boundaries. And it's Job 38 verses 10 and 11. And it says, and prescribed limits for it and set bars and doors and said, thus far shall you come and no further. And here shall your proud waves be stayed. Now, this is a passage, it's actually a very poetic sounding passage in the Bible that describes God's setting of the boundaries for the sea. And it conveys physical boundaries, right? He's setting boundaries for the sea and saying, thus far shall you come and no further. And here shall your proud waves be stayed, right? And so if there were no boundaries for the sea, the earth would be flooded. We would not be able to survive. And so this passage describes God's boundaries for the sea. It conveys a limit. It conveys a physical boundary. And so even in the act of creation, the creation process, there are boundaries, right? There's land and there's sea. And if there was just sea with no land, or if the sea just went wherever it went, we would drown. There's boundaries for the sun and the moon. There's the time the sun comes up. There's the time the moon comes up. And so even in the creative process, there are boundaries. And so what am I getting at? Boundaries are biblical. So do understand that you have a right to let your yes be yes and your no be no in accordance with Matthew 5, verse 37. So I hope that that helps you for those who may be a little surprised when you set a boundary and you were expecting it. You were expecting the fact that you set boundaries to improve the relationship, but it actually brought out the worst. And do know when you're dealing with narcissistic, controlling, entitled, self-absorbed, selfish people, sometimes boundaries bring out the worst. Not all the time, sometimes it's case by case. And so if you want to know more about boundaries, I would encourage you to become a member of our Wednesday Wellness Club, which is a feature of being a member of the Cassandra Mack YouTube channel at the Wellness Club tier. There we go into depth about different things that affect our wellness, and I give you the how-to. Like, how do you set boundaries? Where do boundaries emanate from? How do you specifically set boundaries with a person who's toxic? That happens in the Wednesday Wellness Club. So for those who are interested, you will see a link where you can join. The link is in the video description box. You'll also see a join button. When you click on the join button or the link, it's going to take you to my channel membership. You'll see that there are 4 tiers of membership. If you want to be part of the Wednesday Wellness Club, make sure to join at the Wednesday Wellness Club tier. So the Wednesday Wellness Club is a therapeutic group that meets the first and third Wednesday of every month by conference call, and we focus on well-being, self-care, mental health through a biblical lens, and it is far, 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 far cheaper than therapy. If you think about the cost of therapy, it can be $250 per session. So just from a practical standpoint, you are getting beyond a bargain by being a member of the Wednesday Wellness Club. And so not only is the group therapeutic, but you also get coaching tips in that group, in that tier, because it's a live conference call, and we get to interact with each other. You get to ask questions, you get homework. So it will definitely be a blessing and a benefit, and it's worth you, investing in yourself. Sometimes you got to invest in yourself. So I would encourage you to do that. I want to also let you know about some other resources that we have. So if you struggle with just knowing who you are, your confidence, your self-esteem, pick up the book, Speaking Life into Your I Am. That is a book that gives you biblical verses that speak directly to your identity so that you know who you are in God. So a lot of times we will say scriptures like, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, or I am God's workmanship, right? Or I am the head and not the tail. But why is it important to affirm that? And what does it look like when you're showing up as that person? So that's what the book does. It walks you through the process of how to affirm those scriptures. And again, that's Speaking Life into Your I Am. If you're dealing with haters, even haters in your family, haters on the job, you may want to pick up the book, Rise Above the Haters. That is a journal that offers you a private journaling writing space, but also it gives you biblical principles for dealing with haters, managing the haters in your midst. And it will help you develop your hater-proof skills. And that is really going to be helpful if you are in a space where they're getting the best of you and you need to develop a thicker skin. That's Rise Above the Haters. So my books are available at Amazon, all of them. Some are available at Barnes & Nobles, Target, Walmart, but they're all available on Amazon. That would probably be your best bet. Last but not least, I have another vision board workshop coming up, back by popular demand. The one that we did this month, November, was a huge success. So I'm bringing it back. December 14th, which is a Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing it again by Zoom. This is a ticketed event, and you're going to be creating a vision board, a 5-fold vision board, to end the year strong and start the new year with clarity and strategy. So a lot of people ask, are vision boards biblical? My answer is, it depends what principle the instructor is teaching the vision board from. And it also depends on who's teaching the vision board. So my vision boards are biblical because they're being taught from the scripture Habakkuk 2:2, Habakkuk 2:2, which says, write the vision and make it plain so that he who reads it may run with it. And so when you're creating a vision board in my workshop, you are writing the vision and making it plain through the words, scriptures, quotes, and images that you put on your vision board, which serves as your goal setting process for achieving your goals and moving your goals into tasks that will allow you to reach that goal within a given specific time frame. So why a lot of people don't have success with their vision boards is because most people create smorgasbords. You have everything but the kitchen sink on the board with no strategy, or you have a hodgepodge collage. It's beautiful to look at. You got some beautiful pictures, beautiful quotes. It's bedazzled, it's gorgeous, it's a work of art, and it looks beautiful on your wall. But the goal of a vision board is to be able to hit the ground running with the vision. The goal is to bring the vision in fruition, right? The scripture in Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain so that, then they give you the reason, so that he who reads it may run with it. So you're not just the writer of the vision that God gives you for your life, but you are also the creator of your vision, meaning that you're going to be the one running with the vision. You're going to be the one who has to hit the ground running with your vision. So maybe you have a vision for 2024 to heal an area of your life emotionally. Maybe you have a vision to set better boundaries in the coming year. Maybe you have a narcissistic family member. You tend to be the scapegoat of the family, and you want to shift some of those dynamics, but you need a strategic, tactical approach to do so. Come to the Vision Board Workshop. No matter what your vision is, no matter what your goals are, whether they're mental health, financial, entrepreneurial, spiritual growth, personal development, emotional healing, relationship, you will be able to have a clear roadmap to begin moving forward so that you can cultivate the things that you want to be, do, and have in the coming year and beyond. You'll see the link for the Vision Board Workshop in the video description box. It's a ticketed event. When you click on the link, it will take you to Eventbrite, and there you'll see the flyer where you can read about the event in detail, what we'll be doing, and what the event will entail. So click on the link and you'll see the information there. So with that being said, have an awesome day. Take care of yourselves. Let's do our best to be kind. There's a lot of unhinged people in the world who just want to take out their unhealed rage on innocent people. And so we want to extend kindness as much as possible, but also bring your common sense and your boundaries with you. God bless you. No matter who you are, you will have haters. John 15 verse 18 says, if the world hates you, know that it hated Jesus first. So if you have haters, know that God is greater than your haters. Lately you've been feeling the weight of your haters coming at you with their envy and their hate, scheming against you, throwing mud on your name, but God's gonna work it out despite their lies and game. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer. Let the haters hate while you elevate. Pay no mind to the critics, be about your goals, keep rising, keep shining. Your haters can't stop no show. They can hate all they want to. Remember you are blessed. Never let a hater see you sweat, cause this is just a test. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer. Let the haters hate while you elevate. Don't let the negativity poison your mind. Run your race with grace, one day at a time. They can laugh and they can mock you, but you won't miss a beat. When people don't receive you, shake the dust off your feet. God is greater, so much greater than your head.